Pinkser. I'm saying it wrong. Pinsker. Did I get it right now?
Pinsker, there we go. It's
Pinsker.
phonetic. Thank you.
All right, there we go. From Amigo Games, you are the CEO. Tell us a little bit about Amigo Games.
So Amigo Games is a German company. It's been around for just about 40 years. We launched the U.S. subsidiary here 2 years ago. So I had the enviable task of going through all of their archive. They had more than 1,000 games, and I picked out the games that I thought were right for the North American market, and I used 3 basic criteria. The first one is that all of our games have to have 5 rules or less. We feel like these days families are pressed for time, particularly in the special needs community. So we need something that people can learn to play quickly, they can get started right away, and that are relatively simple for people to catch on to. So that was criterion number 1. Criterion number 2 was that they had to have European quality. So if you look at our games, they have a linen finish on the components. You flip over the inside of the box, you'll see that there's white board typically instead of the craft board that a lot of other companies use. The components are a little bit thicker. The cards are made to last longer. So this quality piece that we have, this European quality, extends not only to the components, however, but also to the gameplay itself. So even though there are only 5 rules, these games are robust. There's decision-making, there's strategy, there's all sorts of things for the kids to do. And then number 3 is another one that we think is very important. Everything in our line, with 2 exceptions, retails for $20 and under. So
we appreciate all of those things.
Well, thank you. Yes, easily accessible, and not only from a gameplay standpoint, but also from a pocketbook standpoint.
We love it. Now, you guys know if you watch the show that we shoot on a green screen, so that anything that's black on the desk or on here is green, and especially if it's see-through, you can see there's a lot of green. It's not a magic trick, it's just a green screen. But we particularly, you've got a lot of great games, but we particularly went gazanga over Clack. And there's, you can see how pretty that box is when it's not on a green screen. And this got our top game for school age because we thought it was really wonderful. I actually sat down and played this with a bunch of therapists, and they went really wild over it, Jeff. They thought that this was a really great game to play with some of our kids during therapy, because they'll do therapy and then they take a break. And we want them to do something in the break that doesn't feel like it's therapy, that feels like it's fun, so that when they go back to doing the hard stuff, that they feel like, wow, I got a little bit of a break. But anytime that we can make that break that feels good also be educational and working on things, then we're working on all pistons, right? And they really loved this because they felt that it worked on a bunch of different things. So let's talk about, and I love the fact that you've got the 5 steps. And in fact, this one is just 3 things that you have to read for the directions. Let's talk a little bit about how you play Clack. Do you want to tell us?
Sure. And I'm going to mention one other thing, and that is that I am the proud stepfather of a kid on the autism spectrum. He's 15 years old. So,
wow.
As we were going through this process of looking at all the games from Germany, I brought a couple of suitcases of games back with me, and we tested them with him. And so these have only, and this isn't something that is super well known. It's not something that we heavily promote, but at the same time, it's something that we think is really important to have products that are accessible to the special needs community. We sponsor here, we live here in Austin, Texas. So if anybody's watching in Austin, let us know, because we sponsor a game night every Friday. We host kids on the autism spectrum, and other special needs kids are welcome to join us as well. And we play some of our games there. And it's not just our Amigo games, but we do it from other companies as well. But it's a great way for us to make sure that our games are working, that they're the right fit for every child of every ability level. So with that in mind, let me tell you a little bit about Clack, which is one of our favorites. It also happens to be one of our top sellers. You get a little bit of reflection there. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So Clack is a game, as I mentioned, that has 5 rules or less, like everything else in our line. And it's super simple to learn. It's also our #1 seller. I'm going to tilt this down so you can see some of these pieces right here on the board, on the table. So the way this game works is there's a pair of dice. We roll the dice, and we get a color and a shape. So if you see, we've got a green flower. That means that all the players at the same time are racing to find green flowers. And when they find a green flower, they use the magnet that's in that disc to pick up as many other green flowers as they can. With all players playing at the same time, there's another green flower. So that's rule #1. Rule #2 is that white is an anything. And when we explain it to parents, we tell them it's a wild card, but kids don't always know what a wild card is, so we say it's an anything. So if you get white plus red, that means you could pick up anything with red. And if you get white on this die, let's say, and you get a flower, you can pick up anything with a flower on it. So in this case, the color doesn't matter. If you get white and white, it's a total free-for-all. You're just grabbing as many discs as fast as you can. The end of the game is over when all the discs are gone. So if you want to work on counting skills, you're going to have the kids count and see how many discs they've collected, or you could just compare the size of the stacks that the kids have collected, and the winner is the one with the highest stats.
And
So it's a very simple game to learn. It's a very simple and fast game to play, but it's one that kids will play over and over again. We're working on pattern recognition, color recognition. One of the nice things here is you don't have to wait for your turn. So there's plenty of socialization. What we're finding is that as we watch kids play, they're actually calling out what it is they're looking for and sort of talking to each other as they do it. Oh, there's a yellow flower. Oh, there's a blue footprint. Oh, there's a green star. So it's a game that can get kids, even if they have speech delays like my stepson does, to be a little bit more vocal as they play the game.
Yeah, we really love this. And, you know, the name of the game is Clack, and part of that, I'm sure, is because when you put one magnet together with another, it makes this very satisfying clack noise. And truthfully, we felt that sensory, there is something about this game that's very sensory pleasing, that as you collect them, it makes this wonderful noise, and you can feel them sort of suck into each other because the magnets are pretty strong. You basically just have to hover it over and it will pick it up. It'll come to it. So we thought it was very fast-paced, fun, that for our kids that were trying to work on focus and attention and being able to focus for periods of time, this was very reinforcing for them, because in the beginning, when there's a lot of things that are out there, you're really having to scan, and there are, you know, sometimes 3 different shapes and there are 3 different colors on each piece. So if you're looking for a blue star, you're really having to scan and go, well, that's a star, but it's red. Okay, that's a star, but it's green. And so you really have to scan. Now, as the pieces get smaller and smaller, now you've got to get there faster because somebody else may get the one and only piece that's there. So we thought that it was a great social game for kiddos to work on, but also great for building attention span and focus to things. And that sensory part of it put us over the top, that, you know, the clacking them together. So the cleanup of this game is 7 seconds. Because it means you pick them all up.
And that's the great thing. When you're done playing, it's already cleaned up, which is wonderful. We typically like to have games where there's, if you can, some sort of tactile sensation, as well as some sort of cognitive effort that you're putting forward. And this is a game that really exemplifies that. There's also and this is a small rule at the end of the instruction, where for younger kids or kids that you want to start and just keep the gameplay mechanism, you can actually have them take turns, and they roll the dice. One player looks for all the yellow arrows. When they're done, it moves to the next player. And it's not so much of a competitive game per se, but at the same time, it gives kids a chance to learn it, so that when it is a free-for-all, when you don't have to worry about waiting for your turn, as you mentioned, for those short attention spans, then they've got a sort of they already know how to play. So it's sort of a beginner level if they want it, although most kids, varying abilities, most kids really don't need it. And it's also a neat game for neurotypical kids to play with kids who are on the spectrum from our experience, because neurotypical kids aren't necessarily better at this. Their reflexes may be a little bit better, but their attention to detail may not be. So it's an interesting game that sort of levels out the playing field if you've got kids who are on the spectrum playing with neurotypical kids.
Well, we loved it. We loved how it's packaged. It's in a smaller box. This is a great game if you're going away for the holidays to pack and take with you. You really could play this at Grandma's house very easily because it doesn't take up that much space and is quick, easy cleanup. And you can get everybody involved. I love that it's 2 to 6 players, and the age rating on it is 5+, and I think that could go to 105. I can see grandmas really loving this. to play. And you know, sometimes for people who are, I just want to say this quick thing, you know, sometimes this is the time of year where we get tons of families writing in and saying, you know, my kiddo who's on the spectrum, I just see that my family, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to engage him or her. They, you know, they don't talk to them the way they talk to the other kids. And what do I do? And this is what my advice to you is. Bring a game that your child knows how to play that will be fun for everyone, and this is what spurs the conversations and will get your child being comfortable and being themselves, and then your family gets to know your child playing a game. I really think that that's the ticket.
I agree, and the other nice thing about it is that the duration is fairly quick. Not only is the gameplay quick in terms of not having to wait for your turn, but the game itself takes anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes to play. And our theory on this is that if you're going to play games for, let's say, 30 minutes, we'd rather have you play 3 to 5 times and have potentially 3 to 5 different winners than play one game of 30 minutes and have only one winner. So this is a game, I think, that fits that criterion very well. I should also mention that based upon the success of the original game, Clack, we've actually added a companion game, which I don't think you have seen, that just came out called Clack Categories.
Oh.
And this is one that's for slightly older kids, and it's interesting. The only difference in the gameplay is that instead of making an exact match, looking for a red flower, you might be looking for something in the category of plants, or vehicles, or things that you eat, or things that you wear. There are 5 different categories in the game. So there's an extra cognitive level built in there that slows things down just a touch. That is appropriate for an older age group. So this one's age graded 7 and up, and the one that we were just talking about, the original, was age graded 5 and up.
Well, I really love that. I really love that, and I think that that's awesome. And sometimes when we're teaching categories to a child who's learning languages, that would be like the ideal thing to cement it. So I absolutely love that. We should say that one of the ways that you can get this game, Clack, is by going to autism-live.com, go to the toy guide, excuse me, and in the school age category, you'll see that this got the top game. And all you have to do is take your cursor, hover it over the name, and click it, and it will take you directly to a place that you can purchase Clack. But where else can they get it, Jeff?
It's available pretty widely. We always like to promote your local, mom and pop toy store, your independent toy stores. This was one of the top selling games in the independent toy channel. So I would guess that your local toy store would have it. We also sell it at places like Target. It's available online, of course. Books A Million if you're in the South. So there are a variety of places that our distribution on this one is pretty good. So it should be relatively easy to find. You can always go to our website, and we have a store finder on there. You can put in your area code, your zip code, and then you can find it that way as well.
I absolutely love it. And see, I've already packed it up here. It was so super easy to do. But Jeff, you guys, I've got 2 more minutes here. What other games do you guys have that you want to let people know about during the holiday season?
This is another one that was a huge success with our local autism game night, and that is called Code Stack. So it's a word game where typically the problem with word games is that the person with the largest vocabulary wins. So when you're playing with a special needs child, typically you always have an advantage over them. In this game, that's not the case. What you're doing is creating words in code, and then everyone's racing to try and guess everybody else's words.
I love that.
Very quickly how it works. We'll start with a 3-letter word. So what I'm going to do is make a word in code. So this is either a D, an E, or an F.
Okay.
And then I'm going to add on another disc. This is either an N, an O, or a P. And then the 3rd letter is either a G, an H, or an I. So I'm going to stack these up. I'll put it right here on top of the box. And then you have a card that tells you the red is either D, E, or F. The yellow is either N, O, or P, and the orange is G, H, or I, and you have to figure out which of those letters come together to form a word.
Okay.
And because it's only a 3-letter word, doesn't matter how many big words you know, doesn't matter how many other words you know. If you can guess what that word is, then you get the point. So it's a great game for kids of different language skills to play together. One of the things you can do also is you can vary the lengths of the words. So the child might be making a 4-letter or 5-letter word for the parent to guess, while the parent's making a 3-letter word for the child to guess. So if you do run into a situation where the kid needs a little bit of extra help, you can build that in. So this word, for example, would be dog, right? Because you get the D from the red one, and the O from this one, and the G from the orange one. So that's how you'd create the word dog, and you'd stack it up. Once again, we all play at the same time. So we're all making words together. We reveal our words, and then everybody tries to guess each other's words.
I love that. Available in the same kinds of places?
This one's going to be available at pretty much specialty stores only. It's a brand new game for us. It's called Code Stack. But yes, it's available at your local independent toy store.
Wonderful. And I've got like 30 seconds left. You got anything else there, or are we good?
We do, of course. Here's another one that's done really well with the autism community. It's called Ring-a-Ding-Ding. And the way this one works is you look at a card, if I can get this open. There we go. You look at a card that has a pattern on it. And we are all racing to use the little rings that are on here and put them on our finger in that pattern. So you're actually taking out, let's see what we need. We need a green one. So I'm going to dig through here and grab a green one and then put it onto stretch it across my fingers like this to try and make the pattern. So whoever makes it first gets to, there's a bell in here which you can play with or without. If you have too much sensory input, then you can leave the bell out. But once you've made this pattern, you ring the bell. That signals that you've made the pattern. So again, it's a great digital dexterity game. It works on the links between your brain and your fingers. And it's also a great game because it's made so that the drawings are made so you can use it with your right hand or your left hand, palm up or palm down, either way. And then there's an extra level in there once you've mastered these, where you do it by, you look at this and then you put it face down, so you have to do it from memory.
Ooh.
Even more challenging.
Ooh.
And we find that's a great way for parents and kids to play together. Kids' short-term memories are so much better than parents' short-term memories. So this is a way to, once again, level out the playing field so parents and kids can play on equal terms.
Well, they're clever games.
Ring-a-ding-ding.
Ring-a-ding-ding. They're clever games. They're well-made, well-packaged, and great things to get during this holiday season for the kiddos in your life, on the spectrum or not on the spectrum. But I think that they're really particularly great for our kiddos on the spectrum because we're working on a bunch of things that we want to work on with them. Jeff, I thank you so much for being here with us, and congratulations on these amazing games.
Thank you so much, and thanks again for the recognition that you've given us. It's great to be to have that connection into the autism community. We really appreciate the time and effort you put into finding great toys for kids of all ages and abilities.
Well, we're glad to know about you. I'm sure that this is just the beginning of a beautiful relationship.
I'm looking forward to that. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right.
Hey, thanks for watching Autism Live. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.